This is the Virginia SBDC network. The purpose of this presentation is to explain the details about the economic injury disaster loan process and to show you some print screens of what you or your clients can expect when you go onto the system to apply for the loan. At the end of this presentation, we'll use the chat feature and we'll answer questions at the end of the presentation. So the economic injury disaster loan is being referred to as EIDL, and they are working capital loans for small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, and small aquaculture businesses, and most nonprofit organizations. Currently, the entire state of Virginia has been approved for SBA funding. So eligible small businesses are businesses in Virginia directly affected by the disaster, businesses that offer services directly related to businesses in Virginia, and other businesses indirectly related, such as the example at the bottom of the screen. You have a manufacturer of widgets. They may be eligible, as well as the wholesaler and the retailer of the product. So what is the criteria for loan approval? In the past, you may have heard that you need a credit score of 650 or 680. The SBA has said for this economic disaster loan, they will decide what's the acceptable credit history. There is no minimum credit score that you have to have. They will also determine if the applicant has the ability to repay the SBA loan. The eligibility requirements currently are the applicant business has to be physically located in the state of Virginia and be considered a small business. So eligible businesses may qualify for loans up to $2 million per entity per disaster. The interest rates for this current disaster are 3.75% for small business and 2.75% for nonprofit organization, and the payment terms are up to 30 years. Eligibility for these working capital loans are based on size. The SBA declares small as any business with under 100 employees and under 50 million in revenue. You can use these working capital loans to pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that could have been paid had this disaster not occurred. The loans are not intended to replace lost sales or profits or for expansion. Any loan up to $25,000 does not require collateral. Any economic injury disaster loan over $25,000 does require collateral. The SBA will take real estate as collateral if it's available, and they will not decline a loan for lack of collateral, but requires the borrowers to pledge what is available. Some examples of what the SBA has said could be used are equity in a home, leasehold improvements, machinery or equipment. These funds come directly from the U.S. Treasury. Therefore, you do not go to a bank to apply for this loan. Instead, you apply directly to the SBA's Disaster Assistance Program at disasterloan.sba.gov. There is no cost to apply for this loan. However, there may be charges associated with the closing of the loan, such as if you have to have a recording done or purchase insurance. There is no obligation to take the loan if offered. The SBA has recommended that businesses apply for this loan. If everything clears up and you decide you don't need it at a later date, you don't have to take it. Again, the maximum unsecured loan is $25,000. And there may be some applicants that have an existing SBA disaster loan, such as from Culpeper for the earthquake a few years ago or 9/11. You can have an existing SBA disaster loan and still qualify for this disaster, but the loans cannot be consolidated. So who are the businesses that are not eligible? Agricultural enterprises are not eligible under the Small Business Act if the primary activity of the business is defined under this act. Religious organizations are not eligible. Charitable organizations, gambling, casinos, or racetracks are not eligible for this funding. Applicants may apply online using the electronic loan application, and that's on the SBA secure website at disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA. You can download a paper application from the SBA website as well, and completed applications can be mailed to the address shown in the second bullet point. If a person is hearing impaired, there is a 800 number, especially for them. There's also the SBA Customer Service Center number, which you should write down, 1-800-659-2955. You can also send an email with questions at disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. The SBA is recommending you submit your application as soon as possible. Please double and triple check that everything that they have asked for you have uploaded and the information is complete. The biggest reason for delays in processing is because of missing information. If more funds are needed after you submit the initial application, there is leeway in this act for this specific funding for the SBA to increase or decrease the amount with additional supporting documentation. If the loan is denied, the loan request denied, the applicant has up to 6 months to provide new information and submit a written request for reconsideration. So this is the Disaster Loan Application Portal, being referred to as DLAP. So what I'm going to show you now are some print screens and what you can expect when you go into the DLAP to apply for the loan. So this is the loan website right here. When you go to that website, you're going to see the 3 circles on the page here. You're going to double click on the blue circle that says Apply Online. This is going to take you to the page where you create your username and password. You do this by clicking on the word Register. This is going to take you to the 2 pages where you will set up your personal information, your password, and your security questions. Please write down your username, your password, your security questions, and the answers. As you can imagine, the SBA is going to have a lot of calls, so please keep this information in case you need it again or you forget a question, you have it written down somewhere. There has been a question about when you first do this first page and it's asking for information, is that my personal information or business information? At this point in the application, this is your personal information. Whenever you need to move forward, at the bottom right of the screen, you will see a box, a blue box that said Next. You click that to get to the next screen. After completing your username and password, you will come to a screen that has 2 circles. You're going to double click on the blue circle that says Apply Online. This is going to take you to the next page with 2 squares. You're going to click on the square that says Businesses and Nonprofit. The next slide is going to ask you to choose the type of organization that best describes your business. Second, it's going to ask you what you are applying for. Check all that apply. The SBA has said to please, please, please only select economic injury, parentheses EIDL, EIDL. Do not check any other boxes for this current disaster. Only check EIDL. When you're done, you're going to click Next and you'll be taken to the next slide. Here's where you're going to select the declaration. So you're going to use the pull-down menu to select Virginia and the pull-down menu to select a county or city, and then click Next. This is going to take you to the following page where you're going to choose which emergency disaster you're asking for funding for. You want to be sure that you choose the COVID-19 declaration for March 2020. After you've done that, you're going to click Next. The next slide that you're going to do is certifying that the information you're providing is truthful. You're going to check the box that says, I certify, and hit Next. You'll be taken to the next page, which are the statements required by laws and executive orders. You're going to check the box that you have read that and click Next to go to the next slide. This is going to bring you to the slide where it lists all of the information that you need to submit for your application. You'll notice a few things. At the top of the page, you're going to have the disaster loan application number. Please print this out or write it down. You'll need this number in the future. It also shows you the progress and where you are in the application process, how far along you are. You've now completed your username and password, and so the first item is showing up that you need to complete, the disaster business loan application. You'll notice the blue box that says Start. You will click on that and it will take you to the next page. This is Form 5, page 1, where you're going to list your information. Please note you will go box by box and fill in the information. Please make sure that any box with a red asterisk that you have put information in that box. These are mandatory cells that must be completed. When you're done, you're going to click Next at the bottom of the page to go to the next slide. Page 2 of Form 5 is where you're going to list the business owner information about any partners or affiliate businesses. Please note, if you have a business partnership, all members must be listed with the percentage of ownership until the combined entries equal 100%. You're going to click Next, and this will take you to page 3. This is where you can type in any relevant comments or any questions that you have. After doing so, you're going to click Next to go to the next page. You'll notice when you come back to your home screen, your progress is further along. There's a green check mark next to what you have completed, and now you are able to start on the other items. So you'll also notice that if you have a partner, their name will be in the automatically filled into this section. And so for the personal financial statement, for example, you will upload yours, and you will also upload that of your partners. So you're going to click Start, and we'll go to the next slide. The next slide is your personal financial statement. This is where you can enter the information online, box by inputting it via computer, or you can upload a financial statement you already have, say from QuickBooks or Excel, by scanning and uploading the document. The next slide, if you indicated that you have real estate, this slide will have you list the information about the real estate. You're going to input that information and click Next. The next 2 pages are personal assets and personal debts. This page as well, you can enter the information block by block, or you can upload the information. Once you've done so, you're going to click Next to go to the next screen. The next information that you're going to put in are your schedule of liabilities, the debt payments that you have. Again, you can upload that, or you can put the information in block by block. If you don't have any debt, you click the box, I have no debts. You will also notice if you have partners, you will upload their information as well, and click Next. The next slide is a request for transcript tax return. You're going to print this out and sign that you authorize the SBA to request tax returns. For this loan application, you are going to submit 2019 tax returns. If you do not have those, you are going to upload year-end financial statements from 2019. Once you have signed the request for transcript of tax return, you're going to scan that to your computer. If you don't have a scanner, you can use a free app called Genius Scan. This is an app you can put on your cell phone. Once you have signed the paper, you take a picture of the document. When it's done, you can email it to yourself and upload that to your computer. So you're going to download the tax information that you need. You're going to save it to your computer. You're going to browse here in the middle of this page here. You're going to browse for the file you need on your computer. When you find the file name, you're going to click on it and then click on Upload. If you do not have this information, you can check the box, I agree to deliver a copy of the completed document to the SBA. This will allow you to keep going in the process. However, please note that your application will not be in the line to get considered until all documentation has been received. Once you have done this, you're going to click Next. Here's what the information will look like once it has been uploaded. You'll also notice that if you have any partners, their tax returns have to be uploaded as well. After you upload a document, if it has been uploaded successfully, you will get this statement here highlighted in green, and it will be highlighted on your screen as well, that your document has been uploaded successfully. You're going to click Next. This is a larger print screen of what it will look like when you go to upload a document from your computer. So you're going to click on Browse, you're going to select the file name, and then you'll click Upload. When you're done, you're going to click Next. What we have been told today from the SBA is that it will help you and help the website system if you upload your documents ahead of time. After doing this, you're going to certify that the information you've provided is truthful and click Next. What you'll notice on this screen here is the slide on the left was when we first began. You'll notice we had one check mark and we had the word update and then a lot of start buttons. Now that we've completed that information, we've got green check marks on all the data that we need to submit. You'll also notice that the start buttons changed to update buttons. If you need to go back in and change any of the information you originally put in, you can do that by clicking on this update button. You'll also notice now that this bottom block is now available to you where it wasn't available before. So you can go in and preview your electronic loan application. Please do this and double, triple check it before you hit submit. Once you're ready to submit, you're going to click the submit button in the bottom right of the page, and you will get a message that says your application submission has been submitted. You'll also notice that it has please download and retain your submitted documents for your records. Please, please print off all your documents and save them to your computer for your record. You'll also notice that up here in the top right corner, there is a message center for you now, and it has a 1. This means that there's a message there that your application has been submitted for consideration. You'll also notice the loan application number. Please make sure that you keep record of that. Once you have finished completing the application and you've gone out of the system and want to come back in to check on the status, you'll go to the home page, enter your username and password, and click Log In. You'll then be taken to this page, and you will click on the arrow with the word Continue to check on the status of your loan. There are a few minor differences for sole proprietors, so I will talk about those in just a moment. The one thing that I want to mention here is that what we have been told is from the date you submit your application to a decision date should be approximately 21 days. After they've made a decision, they will mail you the documentation for loan closing. You will sign that documentation and mail it back to them. Once they receive it back, it'll take approximately 1 to 2 days to get through the cash disbursement process. At that point, then your cash will be dispersed to you. Estimated time could be anywhere from 30 to 45 days. And again, that is an estimate. Now, for some of the specifics for sole proprietors. Sole proprietors are eligible, and there's just a few differences in what you select when you apply online. So you're going to check sole proprietor. Again, you're only going to select economic injury, EIDL, for what you're applying for and click next. The question on this next slide is, was the damaged property your primary residence at the time of the disaster? The SBA has advised that you should check yes and click next. Again, you're going to click the state and the county or city that you're in and select the COVID disaster emergency loans. What I want to point out to you as well here is that there are going to be a lot of people on this system at one time. Please save on a regular basis so you don't lose your information. If you see this yellow bar with the save alert, this means that you have been inactive for a certain amount of time and they are getting ready to log you out. So please make sure you save on a regular basis, and definitely if you get this yellow alert, save right away. Sole proprietors will go through the same slides that I explained earlier, certifying the truthful information, reading the required acts. Again, you're also going to get a list of the things that you need to submit. And this is how the information will look. Again, for anyone completing the application, please make sure you complete the red asterisk blocks. These are mandatory. Another point to really make sure you double, triple check. Your loan officer is going to communicate with you primarily through the message center. However, when you enter cell phone, home phone, email address, please make sure these are correct so they can get in touch with you. Again, you're going to fill out the information just as the others did, and I'm going to go through these a little bit faster since we've already gone through these one time before. Again, this is the slide where if you need to download, you're going to download to your computer, sign and date the document, upload it to your computer, select the file, and upload it. You'll get you will receive a statement that says your document has been uploaded. Tracy, I'm getting a message that my internet is unstable. Are you guys still hearing me okay?
I am still hearing you. You cut out for a second there, but keep going. I'll let you know if it's a problem.
Okay, thank you. All right, so you're going to certify that the information is truthful, and now you are ready to submit. Again, after submitting, you're going to get a confirmation, and you're going to see up here in the message center, that's where you've got a confirmation that you've also successfully submitted your application. You can go in and you can check, you can see the status of your application. You can check this at any point in time. Again, they have said approximate time from submitting the application to decision time is approximately 21 days. Again, please save on a regular basis. The SBA also wanted us to go through some of the types of sole proprietor businesses to make sure everyone who is eligible knows that they're eligible. Rental property owners, home-based businesses, self-employed tradesmen, IT consultants, tutors, caterers, instructors from home. All right, here are some updates that we received as of today. The question, one of the questions is, are all of the COVID-19 EIDL loans on a 30-year repayment term? And the answer is yes, all loans are 30-year repayment term. Are the COVID EIDL loans 12 months, no interest and no payments? There is a deferment period of 1 year. So if you get approved for an EIDL loan today, March 23rd, you would not make your first payment until March 23rd, 2021. However, the interest does start to accrue at the date of cash disbursement. It has been clarified that you can ask for, the loan amounts are up to $2 million. The loan amounts that you will get for your business will be to cover 6 months of operating expenses. The next question was, approval will be based on credit score, not cash flow analysis. Do we know what the credit score range is? The answer is partly correct. The business must demonstrate the long-term ability to repay the loan. There is no answer on credit score due to individual circumstances. There may be justification for low scores due to the COVID-19 impact. Will EIDL loans be forgiven in the future? It seems Senator Graham made a comment to this effect, and several of the advanced questions we have are related to this. At this time, this act that was signed by the president does not authorize loan forgiveness, so borrowers should expect to repay EIDL loans at this time. Another question on an earlier webinar today was that one of the items on the application site says you must exhaust all lines of credit before being considered. The SBA said they will look at to see if you have a dip in financials and that you should apply for this before you use all your line of credit or extend your credit cards. All right, so now we're going to open it up for question and answers, and I'll let Tracy take over this process and I'll answer as best I can.
All right, thanks, Christine. We're going to go ahead and have me read questions that come in. So either in the question and answer window, or you can ask the question in the chat window. Bear with me in the chat window because they come in throughout. So I want to make sure that I get them. All right. The first question, is the criteria is a business 100 employees and 50 million revenue. Do you have to have both?
The SBA reported earlier today it's one or the other.
Okay. Please, okay, so please reiterate the criteria, number of employees and annual revenue. So we just did that, never mind, sorry. How can charitable organizations not be covered if nonprofits are eligible?
There is a definition for what is considered a charitable organization. Please check the SBA website. I believe it is something to the effect of the amount of income you put back into the community or that you give away. So please check the SBA website for guidelines on that.
Is the preference for firm, brick and mortar firms, tech services, etc.?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Is there a preference for the type of company, brick and mortar firms, tech services, etc.?
There is no preference for the type of firm. The SBA has encouraged all small businesses to apply.
Must I be SWAM certified?
No, you mustn't. You can't. Yes, you can apply even if you are not SWAM certified. You do not have to be SWAM certified.
A 10-person software firm that sells in the US and or internationally sells to other small businesses and large firms, does this firm qualify?
If their corporate headquarters and main office are physically located in the state of Virginia, yes, they qualify to apply.
Okay. Why would a small business owner take out a loan during such an uncertain future instead of just closing the business? The owner could cause loss to their house. I can't, I'm not sure that this has an answer to it. For a nonprofit who's filling out the form, the executive director or the board chair, or should it be filled out from the standpoint of the nonprofit entity itself?
I am not sure because I'm not schooled on nonprofit. So I would say reach out to the SBA directly with that question.
Okay. Can we upload zip documents to get the size less than 38 gig?
I believe so. If you'd like to email me that question, cchris@lfcc.edu, I'll get a definitive answer for you.
What if your partners are less than 20% and are not guarantors? Do they need to be listed?
The guidance we've received is that shareholders with 20% or more must share their information.
Someone had said they're having trouble uploading prior year tax returns.
They are experiencing blips and crashing of the SBA site. So please keep trying and/or print your documents and mail them in.
How long after submitting will you receive an answer about your loan?
The time period that we have been given from the SBA is approximately 21 days for a decision. At that time, they will notify you. They will mail the documents to you for signature for loan closing. You will mail them back. Once the SBA receives them back, it's a couple of days to get the cash disbursement approved, and then they will disperse the cash. Total time between the time you apply a cash disbursement, approximately 45 days, and that's a guess.
Okay. Please confirm the maximum value of a loan without collateral required.
The maximum value of a loan without collateral is $25,000.
If you are a nonprofit organization, what personal information would be submitted if you were simply running by an elected board?
I am sorry, I'm not schooled in nonprofit, so you will need to ask the SBA that question.
If we do this SBA loan and the government passes legislation providing grants or forgiving loans for wage to employees in lieu of laying them off, will we still get those benefits?
I can't answer that, sorry.
Can the signed loan document be emailed instead of mailed?
We have received information from the SBA that says they have to be mailed. I believe there is an option if you'd like to pay an attorney to close your loan, you could have that option as well. As far as we have been instructed, you cannot email your signed loan documents.
Since they're 30-year loans, can you pay it off within 5 or 10 years without penalty?
I am not sure. That's a good question. I don't know.
Should I list all personal and business debt?
Yes, you must be truthful.
Christine, can you go over the size limitations of the small business to apply again?
Yes, it's the SBA describes small business as under 100 employees or under 50 million in revenue.
If you have two companies and both are being affected by COVID-19, are you allowed to request a loan for each business? And do I do this separately or combined?
Great question. If you have two separate EIN numbers, then yes, you can apply for two loans. It's up to $2 million per entity. If you want to apply for two separate loans, you must apply two separate times.
Can they be done under the same username and password, or do they each have to be a separate account?
That's a good question, and I'm not sure. I would email the SBA directly with that question.
Are personal financial statements and tax returns required for all partners or just partners above a certain ownership size?
Partners above a 20% interest.
Do we need to prepare financial projections or related information to support the amount of the loan sought?
At the current time, this funding is intended to replace money to pay your expenses, and so you do not have to do projections at this time. It will ask you for the schedule of debt, and they will base the loan amount on 6 months of operating expenses.
I'm a sole proprietary operating a storefront tax preparation business. Our need is for operating funds due to sporadic cash flow. Would this loan apply to me?
You do qualify as the sole proprietor. Again, the funds are to be used to cover expenses that you could have paid had this disaster not happened.
We have 50-50 ownership, but we both don't have access to each other's personal information. So how can we submit?
You're going to have to share information in order to be able to apply for this funding.
What does the SBA take as collateral if all of my assets are collateral for my current line of credit?
For this disaster funding, they can use equity in a home, they could use machinery, equipment, leasehold improvements, for example.
How can we find out if there's a penalty for early payoff?
I would email the SBA directly.
Can you send 2018 returns if 2019 returns are not completed yet?
They may ask you for 2018 returns. If you don't have your 2019 tax returns done, you have to submit year-end financial statements.
Should I list as real estate, although I don't use my home for a business as collateral?
The loan application process will ask you for your personal equity in your home, yes, and it can be used as collateral.
Related to schedule of liabilities, the format on the schedule of liabilities form does not seem to suit itself to typical accounts payable, asking for origination, maturity dates, current balance, etc., things that just don't apply to month-to-month accounts payable. Where do we enter the information if check, no debt, or where do we report payroll?
If you can't put that on the schedule of debt, I would enter that information in the box where it allows you to type in any relevant comments.
Okay, this is a long question. Page 1 of the application, applicant legal name, is this the person or the business name there?
That is the personal name.
In the case of a husband-wife team and co-owners, do we complete separate applications or just one package for both owners?
One application with both owners listed.
Insurance coverage. I'm not sure about what we should place here. We might have business interruption insurance for possible coverage.
I would check with your insurance agent to see if you have that, and if you do, list it there.
What goes in the business entity owner block? In the case of joint owners, husband and wife, what do we do?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
Okay. No. So, Mike, if you'll retype that question, if you can clarify that for us, Christine can to answer that. Are loans assumable if the company sells later?
I don't know. We haven't been provided direction on that.
Are there any prepayment penalties? We've answered that we don't know at this point. If none of the members of the LLC business own over 20%, do we just submit business tax returns and no personal financial statements?
No, you need to submit, let me clarify. If it's a corporation, shareholders with over 20% must share their information. If it's an LLC or a partnership, you must share information of all owners.
How can you prove the loan money went to rent? I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry, Chad, if you could re-ask that. What is the best way to show that COVID-19 will affect future revenue?
You may have that conversation with your loan officer. The initial decision and what we are told these funds are for are to cover 6 months of operating expenses. At this time, not loss of income, but to cover your operating expenses. However, that could change. This is the direction we have at this point in time.
I will apply for this loan as the president of the LLC, a restaurant, but only hold 14% ownership. So do I still need to provide all of my personal information? This is an LLC, not a partnership.
Yes, you will still need to include your information.
How is the loan amount determined? The application did not ask for a loan request amount. Will it be determined by the SBA based on available collateral?
They will take collateral into consideration. The loan amount is going to be based off of your operating expenses and historical data. This funding is to be used to cover your expenses for 6 months. So that's how they're going to determine, one of the key factors in determining what loan amount you receive.
Sorry, Christine, I'm just trying to read through these.
Okay.
Can you please address the business owner with the multiple business maximum unsecured loan amount 25,000? Is it per person or per business?
The maximum unsecured loan is per entity.
Am I correct in understanding that loans should be sized to cover 6 months of business expenses? Is this how much a business should request?
That is what the SBA has said they are going to base the loan amounts on. On an earlier call today, an SBA representative shared, don't worry about the amount that you're asking for. The loan officer will work with you to figure that out.
If our parent company has lower than their required employee threshold, but each individual subsidiary has more, okay, sorry. I don't know my less than and greater than signs. Sorry, people. If our parent company has more than the required employee threshold, but each individual subsidiary has less than the required amount of the employees, does that subsidiary qualify?
I believe, and please verify this with the SBA, I believe if this subsidiary has a separate business entity, separate EIN number, set up as a separate entity, then yes, they would be eligible to apply.
I have 10 employees and I'm a C corporation. Do I qualify?
You can apply for funding, yes.
Can you speak to the types of acceptable collateral and personal guarantee requirements?
Sure, the collateral could be equity in a personal home. Even if there's not a lot of equity, they've said they could do upside down equity. They will take leasehold improvements as collateral, machinery, or equipment.
We have 103 employees. Will we qualify for a loan? Does the number of employees depend on your industry as other SBA programs do?
If you have a question about that, I would reach out to your SBA directly.
Can I use the loan as a line of credit and draw on it as needed?
I don't believe so, but you can check that with the SBA.
Are there any provisions for businesses that are SWAM or DBE certified, i.e. are they a higher priority?
At this point, we have not been given that direction.
For corporations, do owners have personal liability against the loan?
I am not sure.
Can I apply for a loan as an LLC for one business and the sole proprietor for a rental property?
Yes, you can, as long as they have separate EIN numbers and they're separate entities.
If our bank makes a temporary emergency loan for funds needed now prior to the SBA loan being approved, can that loan be repaid from the SBA loan?
The economic injury disaster loan funds are to be used to cover operating expenses.
What is the interest rate on the loan?
3.75% for small businesses and 2.75% for nonprofits.
How will we need to document how the funds were spent?
We have not been given that direction as of yet.
If your building already has a loan attached to it, can you still receive assistance and use the building as collateral?
Yes, you can still apply for assistance. And if you have any equity in the building, yes, you could use that as collateral.
Do operating expenses include employee payroll and the 1099 contractors, or is it for employees only?
You may use the economic disaster loan funds for payroll and for operating expenses.
How is the SBA prioritizing loan applications if there's limited funding available?
I'm sorry, Tracy, could you repeat that?
Sure. How is the SBA prioritizing loan applications if there is limited funding available?
I am not part of the direct SBA team, so I can't answer that.
We have been advised to begin this process. Oh, these are coming in so quickly. What I'm reading just disappeared. Is there a deadline for submitting the loan application?
I believe the deadline is December of 2020.
Christine, they'd like you to address whether you can pay the 1099 contractors with the loan or they consider operating expenses.
That's a good question, and I would ask the SBA.
Okay. Christine, can you repeat again the eligibility requirements, employees, and revenue?
Yes, under 100 employees or under 50 million in revenue.
If you need to add additional expense, such as getting If you need to add additional expense, such as getting a answering service, are you limited to the operating expense at the time you applied, or can it also cover new operating expenses associated with remote work and remote office?
We have been told by the SBA that there is leeway in this act to allow them to be able to increase or decrease the original amount requested with supporting documentation. So if you know, at this point, it's 30,000 that you need, but it turns out to be 40,000 next month, they have said that they do have leeway to be able to increase or decrease the loan amount.
How many years have you had to have been in business in order to obtain the loan?
The SBA has said there is no minimum time. On a previous call today, there was someone who had been in business for 4 months, and the SBA encouraged them to apply. So anyone can apply that's a small business, regardless of how long they've been in business.
What if we give you collateral but then need to sell it?
That is a question for the SBA. I'm sorry.
Please clarify, if more than 100 employees but less than 50 million in revenue, do we qualify?
Go
ahead.
You may qualify depending on your industry. Please reach out to the SBA directly.
Christine, it would be a good point at this point to maybe reiterate the phone number and email address for the SBA from the slideshow if people are needing to reach out to them.
Yes, let me put that back up on the screen. There we go. Thank you, Tracy. Great point. So here's the 800 number, 800-659-2955. And the email for the SBA customer service is disastercustomerservice, all one word, @sba.gov. And thanks, and folks, thanks for your patience. We are part of the Virginia Small Business Development Center Network. We are a subsidiary of the SBA, and so we're really trying hard to give you factual, correct information. If you have a question where I haven't been able to answer, I will email them directly, and we'll post answers up on our website as soon as we have them.
Thank you, Christine. I know we've had a lot of questions. Some of them are repeat. We've got a lot more, and I'm not sure we'll get through all of these before the end of the presentation, but I will take what we have up here, and we will do our best to get answers to you all. And I apologize, the ones that are coming in the chat window, honestly, if you could try posting them in the question window, they're moving so quickly, I can't keep up with them. They keep disappearing as somebody else puts a new one up there. We have recorded this presentation today. I will be emailing the slides to anyone that has attended today's webinar. We will get those to you. And we do on the Virginia SBDC website, we do have kind of a short at this point question and answer on the EIDL loans. So if we haven't answered your question, you certainly can go there and see some of the questions and answers we put up there, and we'll be adding them as we go on. Let me see what other questions have come in, Christine. Could you restate the interest rate for nonprofits?
Sure. The interest rate for nonprofits is 2.75%.
Okay. Also, I should point out that we do have offices throughout the state of Virginia. On the Virginia SBDC website, we have a list of all of our locations. Each of our centers throughout the state has experts available to you to help answer these questions as well. So if you go to virginiasbdc.org and go to locations, you can find out the office closest to you. All right. For collateral, I own real estate jointly with my wife, but I'm the only member on the LLC. Do I list that?
They will ask you to list your personal assets and personal debts. Yes.
Do I need to submit bank statements in addition to tax returns, and how many months?
At this point, we have not been instructed that you need to upload bank statements.
Okay. What is the correct answer to an S Corp, sole proprietor or corporation?
I'm sorry, could you state that again?
The person that asked that question, could you retype it? I'm not sure I understand the question either. So we are a construction company with 160 employees, over 50 million in revenue, experiencing total job shutdown. Is there any relief for a company of our size?
There is legislation being proposed. At this point in time, I am not aware of any.
Farmers have been said to be ineligible. Does this hold true for those with farm wineries or other agribusinesses, or can they apply?
Please check the SBA Act to see if you're covered. Let me pull that slide back up for you. So it is the Small Business Act, Section 18B1. You can look there to see if your organization is included as ineligible.
Do I need a permission letter from a spouse saying it's okay to use the joint real estate, which I want to use as collateral?
That's a good question. You may have to do that when you apply online, yes.
Is real estate the first choice of collateral, even if we have other such assets as equipment and vehicles?
You don't have to use real estate first. You have different options that you can use as collateral.
For restaurants, do expenses include the cost of goods and payroll, or fixed expenses?
The disaster funding is to be used for all operating expenses.
Must a business still be open when they apply? If they closed last week, can they still apply next week?
If they are still an official legal entity in the state of Virginia, then yes, you can still apply.
Can you reapply if your loan request is rejected?
Yes, you have up to 6 months to reapply in writing for reconsideration.
Is interest charged on the is interest charged on used loan portion or on the whole loan?
I believe it's on the whole loan, but I will double check that and put it up on our website.
If I'm paying and current on a past tax obligation on an IRS 433D installment plan, would this disqualify me from the loan?
We have been advised by the SBA to have everyone apply regardless of if you have repayments that you are making or dent, so to speak, on your credit. They may make special considerations for the COVID-19 virus.
Okay. I'm a sole proprietor and only have been in business for a year or so, and I don't have 2 years of financial statements as requested. Can I still apply for the loan?
Yes, you may still apply.
At the beginning of the presentation, you referenced an SBA regulation subparagraph that cited types of businesses not covered under the program. What are they, or where can they be found?
Sure, let me find that slide. It is the Small Business Act, and it's in section 18B1. You can Google that and find which ones are eligible or ineligible.
Do Independent or 1099 contractors qualify?
The 1099 contractor, if they are sole proprietor, yes, they qualify.
Is this a fixed interest rate?
It is a fixed interest rate of 3.75% for small business and 2.75% for nonprofit.
Can a timeshare be used as collateral?
I'm not sure. You need to ask the SBA that question.
Do companies structured as C corporations have to provide personal information to shareholders/owners, or is that limited to S corporations?
It's my understanding if it's a corporation and they own 20% or more, they have to share their information.
I understand all businesses should apply. How long do I have to accept or reject my loan, assuming I am approved?
I am not sure the answer to that question.
If I was operating as an LLC in 2019, but applied to change to an S Corp, which should I apply as?
You should apply as the entity that you are currently.
Can we apply now, get approved, and defer disbursement?
You can apply now. I'm not sure if you can defer disbursement.
If a husband and wife are partners and own a certain percentage of the business, how do we enter our personal assets since they really are one and the same? Should we only list them under one or the other so it doesn't look as if we have double the assets?
You're going to list the personal assets one time.
For a single owner LLC, does personal information have to be submitted?
Yes, personal information does have to be submitted.
Are SBA EIDL funds available to S corporations?
Yes.
On Form 5, page 1, what is the correct answer for damaged property if you rent at a co-working office space?
If you are a sole proprietor, the answer to that question should be yes.
Is the applicant for the business, i.e. LLC, or the individual that owns the 100% of the LLC?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Is the applicant the business, i.e. LLC, or the individual that owns 100% of the LLC?
When you first set up your username and password, you're going to enter your personal information. You are applying as the LLC, as the structure of the business. With this loan, you will, if it's above 25,000, be guaranteeing collateral, which may or may not be the business collateral or your personal collateral. If I didn't answer that question, please retype it to Tracy.
Can you alter your application once it's submitted?
No, unless it's with a loan officer in conversation.
I am a software corporation with no fixed assets or leasehold improvements. What's used as collateral?
If you have any machinery or equipment or personal equity in a home or real estate.
Can you repeat the interest rate again, Christine?
Sure. The interest rate for small business is 3.75%. The interest rate for nonprofits is 2.75%.
Under the type of entity, we have choices of corporation and sole proprietorship. There isn't a separate listing for an S corporation. Is the proper answer corporation or sole proprietor, since the corporate gains and losses are passed through to the individual?
Please select corporation.
In section 17, if no shareholder owns 20%, do we mark no individual owners?
I believe so, yes.
Are you required to go into your line of credit before you receive funds?
Per an SBA response this morning, no, you are not.
If I have $100,000 in personal savings account, would I still be able to get this loan for a sole proprietor business for the $25,000 unsecured amount for my business?
Potentially, yes. Please apply.
So I wanted to say, Christine, because this one says, thank you for this presentation and for answering all of these questions in such a kind fashion. It's heart-wrenching to hear and see all the questions flow by. Thank you for taking the time to do this presentation. Thank you for those kind words. And thank you, Christine, for doing this. We have a lot of questions. We have our just over 6 o'clock. We're going to go until 6:15, and then I'm going to take the questions that are here. And we're going to do our best to update our question and answers on our website. All right. So I'm going to do my best to get through what we have, but there are a lot of questions. Should you list payroll, insurance, vehicle leases as liability? If so, and I've submitted, can this be corrected?
If it is a monthly operating expense, then yes, you should include that because it's a bill that you're going to have to pay. If you've already submitted the application online, you can't go in yourself to change that information. When you talk with an SBA loan officer, please make sure to mention that to them. Again, they can increase or decrease from the original amount with supporting documentation.
Can I apply through my financial institution, or is the DLAP the only way to apply for assistance?
You cannot apply through a commercial bank. You must apply through this DLAP online website.
Christine, can you go ahead and put the SBA information back up on the screen for folks?
Yes, there we go. Sorry.
Can you use intellectual property as collateral?
I don't believe so, but double check my answer with the SBA.
Will you be working with a loan officer? And if so, can information be added to your application?
Yes, you will be assigned a loan officer, and you may add information later. They're going to make a decision, and you can talk with them about that at that time.
How can an employee ownership company under an employee stock ownership plan and ESOP apply considering the personal financial information requirements?
That's a great question. Please direct that to the SBA.
We had a question on where this recording will be posted. It'll be posted on the Virginia SBDC website on our disaster loans or EIDL loan page that's listed on our homepage. If payroll is based on commission sales, how is this treated for purpose of covering payroll?
I believe they will look at your historical data and use that to come up with I guess an average of 6 months of operating based on historical data. That would be a good question as well for the SBA.
Can you clarify if the 3.75 interest rate is fixed or variable? If it's variable, what are the points over prime?
It is a fixed interest rate of 3.75%.
Can you explain how the SBA will determine the amount of 6 months of operating expenses? Our business is seasonal. It's a rolling 6 months, last fiscal year, etc.
They will look at your historical tax returns, and they will look at the schedule of debts information that you submit to come up with a determination.
Please add some detail as to when in the credit search process a business should come forward. Should I pursue conventional financing first? You mentioned applying before you max out your lines of credit and credit cards.
You could actually apply for SBA funding now and also to your regular conventional lending. There are no stipulations on what you have to use first, and the SBA has encouraged all to apply.
I have a company that I signed a lease to open April 1. My inventory is arrived. Am I eligible for a loan? I've not opened my business due to COVID.
Yes, you are eligible to apply for the loan funds.
Is a requirement not to lay off any employees to qualify?
That is not a requirement, no.
On the tax returns filed to submit, is it the business return or the personal return?
I believe it's the business returns.
My primary insurance sales business is in Virginia. I also have a rental business in South Carolina. Can the South Carolina rental business be included?
No, it may not. At the current time, you may submit for these disaster loans under the state of Virginia only. If South Carolina is approved, you would apply separately for that entity using the COVA code for South Carolina.
There's a little bit of confusion. There was a question. Initially, Fairfax, Alexandria, Arlington were approved under the DC COVA. Should they apply under DC or Virginia?
If the business is physically located in the state of Virginia, they should apply under Virginia.
We had a question, does the SBA provide assistance for companies to prepare the loan applications?
The assistance is provided through the Virginia SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. We're here to help you with that. The SBA also has their customer service center, that 800 number. You can also email them. And as Tracy mentioned before, there are small business development centers all throughout Virginia, and we are here to help you as well.
So it's 6:15. Thank you, Christine, for your time in answering all of these questions. This webinar was recorded today, and we'll be posting that on the Virginia SBDC website under the disaster loan page, which is on off of our menu on our homepage. I also will be emailing all participants of today's webinar the slides for today's presentation. Thank you so much for everyone for participating today. And Christine, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone.